All right, and we are live again. We're gonna try this once more. This better work.
It won't.
I... okay.
We're live right now and our speed looks okay.
Well, that could change. We'll see. All right, post that in the chat. Okay. Gonna try this again. Okay. Welcome back, Multi-Battle Conference, to our second attempt at the Season 5, Week 4 Power Rankings. Should we wait for people to get here or just jump in?
I mean, they're just gonna come back in on what we were talking about earlier.
Oh, that's true. We did get a little bit into the first match.
Yeah.
So we can keep going with that. Okay, so like we mentioned, Drillers and Geezers on a bye. Hector's here. That's good. Okay, so we're
One of the teams on a bye.
yes,
Drillers.
yes, indeed. Mostly just acknowledging that because at least somebody can see us. That's a positive thing. So Drillers and Geezers on a bye, both undefeated, both coming back in week 5 to see if they can continue that. And our first game for Sword Division was us versus the Porygons. The Porygons made a few critical errors we thought in the early game that didn't allow us to just completely do what we wanted, but mostly do what we wanted. I would say. The first big mistake was that we went for the Eerie Impulse. Oh right, the Shinx. We were talking about Shinx.
We led Mew Shinx. They led Grimmsnarl Zapdos.
Yeah, so Grimmsnarl Zapdos was definitely one of the leads that we were focusing on as to how we were going to deal with it, because it seemed a little scary if they were going to try to do fake tears stuff, which they didn't even have.
Yeah.
Which was helpful because once we got the Zapdos to -2, it was just its damage output wasn't getting any better. But yeah, we led the Shinx. An E-tier actually did something, so that's kind of awesome. We just went for the Max Guard turn 1 on Mew because we knew we wanted to max it, and we were not willing to take a fake tears plus a max move, and then the Shinx just went for an Eerie Impulse onto the Zapdos, which is super nice. And then their first critical mistake was that they maxed the Zapdos anyway. It's not like they maxed the Zapdos and we went for Eerie Impulse on the same turn. They knew they were -2. The max came back to the Zapdos on turn 3 when they were already -2, and then they maxed, which was a little confusing. Their damage output was just really, really lacking because they decided to do that. So, and then their second big mistake was not overriding Psychic Terrain, because we were going for the Dynamax with Max Mindstorm off of Expanding Force to try to use some +2 Expanding Forces after our max was over, which we only got one off, but that's kind of all we needed. And then of course we had the self bite from the Shinx. We had a Shinx that knew bite. Just hit ourselves on Mew, activated Mew's weakness
Took
policy.
big damage, but it was worth it.
Yeah, big damage. Shinx did more damage to Mew than the Zapdos did. So yeah, they kind of they kind of sort of let Mew do what it wanted. The only hindrance really was the light screen that the Grimmsnarl set up, which helped them, but definitely not enough. We were able to get some pretty good damage off, and then once both of our maxes were over, we got a good. No, I think Zapdos was still maxed when we Expanding Force, but
Yeah.
yeah, we got a good Expanding Force off. Did a lot of damage to the Zapdos and Politoed. And then Shinx ended up going down to the Politoed Surf. Not really. I guess we talked about maybe they were just afraid of redirection, so they went with Surf instead of like a Scald or
Yeah.
Muddy Water can miss, I guess. But yeah, so the Shinx went down to the Politoed Surf. We got a free switch into our Slowbro, and we decided we had two big threats on the field, different kinds of threats, but the Mew at +2 was still sitting in front of him. The Slowbro was threatening to set up Trick Room in the mid game. both were pretty threatening. And then I think their third critical mistake was swords dancing with the Scizor in front of the Mew and the Slowbro, because Mew was at very low HP. They could have just bullet punched it. The Slowbro was vulnerable to a potential bug bite. Although I think we probably ended up living that. I don't know, because they were life orb. I don't know if I actually accounted for life orb. We may have, but in any case, they just swords danced in front of both of those, and we just clicked Heat Wave and Trick Room, and we basically just thought, okay, we make them choose. Either they take big damage on Heat Wave, which they cannot redirect with the Electabuzz, so Scissor's taken a lot. Either they take that, or they let Trick Room go up. So, and both of which ended up happening. We got a Heat Wave and Trick Room off that turn, because they decided to Swords Dance instead of addressing the both of the big threats in front of them. And so we got big damage on the Scizor, and the Slowbro was able to set up Trick Room. And Mew went down the next turn, which we were fine with. We got a free switch into Caparaja. Still had some spread damage on that, and after the Heat Wave damage, was able to just finish off the Scizor with a Rock Slide, and they really couldn't do anything about our mid to late game Trick Room mode. So
we were able to get it up twice.
We got the Electabuzz down to like just a tiny smidge of HP and just went for an Iron Head on it while we set up another Trick Room, and then the Barraskewda came in and just, that thing can't do anything under Trick Room.
Yeah.
We almost killed it. It did pick up the KO on Caparaja, but it was, it only had a sliver left and it was still under Trick Room, so we cleaned it up after that.
Yeah.
So pretty clean end game, I would say. The beginning was a little bit precarious because we didn't know what they were going to do with that combination. We were a little bit scared of the fake tears next to the Zapdos, but it turned out okay.
Yeah, honestly did. You forgot an A there, Allan, in the middle of that. Next, we have the darn heckin' Delibirds versus the Rainbow Raiders. Actually, probably one of the better games, just for one reason. It goes to show how much prep helps. Was one of the things where, even though obviously the Raiders had a very threatening mode with the Colossal, I believe they led Colossal and Dragonite, and the Delibirds led Luxray, so Luxray and Shinx came out and were leads.
I'm much more impressed with the Shinx.
Luxray and the Wartortle came out, and this is what I talk about really good prep just in general. They EV'd. Well, I'm guessing they did. They EV'd their Wartortle, most likely to live a +2 max overgrowth from the Colossal, and they gave it Hydro Pump. Now, we talked about whether or not Hydro Pump... Go ahead, what are you going to say?
I'm not sure they did that. Based on the damage that it did with... I don't remember what it hit the Wartortle with, but I'm not... I don't think it would have lived a +2 overgrowth, actually.
Yeah, well, either way, they went for the Hydro Pump right off the bat. And we wondered if maybe Hydro Pump was worth it, if they weren't going to be able to guarantee a KO.
Right.
Maybe just going with Scald, getting it down to that damage. But either way, it worked out. The Wartortle went for a water move into the Colossal. It didn't knock it out, but it brought it very low. Mm-hmm. And then they were able to get their Moltres and Comfey kind of out together. Or, well, after that, they brought in Nidoking, and Nidoking just knocked it out. But after that, they were able to get Moltres and Comfey together. They were able to max the Moltres, get the weakness policy off, and then just sweep. Prepping really hard for one of the bigger threats that the team has in the Colossal mode, and then coming back and going, okay, after we stop that, we have a game plan in the back, and that just finished it off. So, not really trying to say anything about the Raiders. They played the game plan that they played, but I just have to give a lot of credit to the Delibirds here. Great prep overall. Just really did everything that they needed to do. You're going to lose a couple of Mons. That's just kind of how the game works sometimes. But ultimately, they had complete control throughout the whole match. So kudos to them.
I like how they. I like that they brought in the Nidoking to address the Colossal threat at first, and then they had a really nice position where they were able to switch it out into the Comfy while they protected Moltres and waited for the Dynamax slot to go back into it. Then they went for the Draining Kiss and only kept Comfy out, I think, just for that first turn. And they switched directly back out into Nidoking to give it Airstream boost.
Yeah.
That was nice. The two weird things about this match that I noticed. One, the first turn was very strange to me because it felt like they both just went for really stupid plays, which
but like it's only all right. It's only dumb if you look at it from the outsider's perspective. I understand with the Delibirds, they're like, dude, of course this thing's gonna have surf. Like, why even bother redirecting this thing if they're just gonna surf? They're gonna proc it off anyway, and we'll just go for the Hydro Pump. We're gonna live, and then we'll hit it with that. And no,
that makes a little bit more sense, I guess. Like they were concerned about surf, but then you have the Raiders who are like, oh, okay, we're sitting in front of Follow Me. Self Aqua Jet, let's go, and it somehow worked.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it worked. Maybe they were thinking like they're gonna go for Fake Out and try and fake out the Dragonite, not thinking that maybe we're multi-scale and not inner focus.
I mean, you have to.
But then didn't the I was gonna say the Shinx.
Oh well,
the Luxray didn't have Intimidate, so then inner focus would have probably procced on it anyway.
Yeah, I'm assuming it would have.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just gonna pull up the match because I just want to confirm the ability there.
You're gonna have to mute there.
Oops. Ah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's fine. But yeah, I just want to confirm the ability on the. Unless they didn't have Intimidate on Luxray, I'm sure they did. Okay, so there's the Luxray. Oh, no, they didn't have... Oh, no. Okay. So we never saw. That's why I wasn't sure. Oh, right. Oh, I think we saw Flame Orb in Team Preview.
So Guts.
Yeah, Guts Flame Orb. That's what it was. Okay, that's fine.
Maybe they were anticipating the Fake Out then.
I guess so.
But still, Redirection just seems like the best. But like, if you have Surf, then you don't go for Redirection.
Right. Yeah.
It was just very unusual.
It was weird. It was weird.
Yeah. And like ultimately it worked out because when you have situations like that, you go for the one that's gonna hurt you the least, I guess, right? Like, so it's like, all right, cool, you're gonna get that off. We understand that probably the safest thing is to go for Follow Me, but if you have Surf, then it really just really messes up our entire game plan here. And yeah, because if they have Surf, then they just lose, just straight. Because they swapped out the Lux, or no, they let the Luxray die, but they just lose straight most likely. So
probably, yeah. The other weird thing was the high horsepower miss onto War Turtle. I really wonder how the game would have gone if not for that, because then War Turtle was at pretty low HP because it was taking taking damage from the Colossal and the rocks at the end of the turn as well. And then so it probably would have gone down, and then the Dragonite had gotten a Dragon Dance up. It was Life Orb. If it just went for dual Wing Beat into the Nidoking, Nidoking's not really that bulky. Probably would have killed, honestly. Yeah. And then you have a Dragon Dance Nidoking that also has +1 special defense from the Colossal's Max Quake.
Dragonite, you mean?
What did I say?
You said Nidoking.
Oh, yes. So, yeah. So you have a +1/+1/+1 Life Orb Dragonite that's still on the field that was pretty healthy, I think. So I wonder... I'm sure they were Inner Focus, actually, because they had Life Orb. They would break their own multi-scale otherwise.
True.
So yeah, I'm pretty. I'm curious about how the game would have gone. That's an unfortunate miss too. I mean, it's 95 accuracy. That's rough. But then they wouldn't have had Nidoking anymore, and it would have been much more difficult to address that Dragonite threat. They still had their Dynamax, and they still would have been able to at least get their Moltres' weakness policy off.
Yeah.
And probably take a hit from the Dragonite if they're max, but like. The Moltres was kind of overwhelming because the Raiders just didn't have much offense left once once they were staring down that Moltres, and then just it allowed Nidoking to in the end game, it allowed Nidoking to just pick up a bunch of KOs. I mean, Moltres was the big Maximon. It was the thing with weakness policy, but the thing that was getting more KOs was the Nidoking. I think Moltres only got 2, and Nidoking got the other 4.
Yeah, but it also was enabled to do that because the Moltres Maxim was air.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Especially considering that the Moltres was putting stuff down into range for the Nidoking to pick it up.
Right.
Particularly stuff like the Togekiss, where I believe that they went into it and it did like about 80%.
Yeah. I just wonder how it would have gone if it was just the Moltres there without the Nidoking. Yeah. They would have had a tougher time. But not to say that they would have lost, but it would have been closer at least. I guess they could have lost. Who knows? Anyway, moving on to the Wet and Wild Wailords versus the Po-Tay-Toes. This is a match that we were kind of giving it to the Potatoes, and we even thought that they had a pretty good early lead. It was not very clear what the Wailords were actually going to do against that Metagross, but They looked really strong in the first couple of turns. They were getting Steel Spike boosts up, and then the Wailords just came in and Dynamaxed the Flygon, went for a Max Quake, and the Metagross was pretty healthy, if I remember correctly.
Special.
And I know. Like it took down the Dynamax Metagross, and when I saw that damage, I was like, oh, they got crit, and then they didn't.
Yep. And it's special.
Yeah, it was just special.
Because they were at +2 defense, I believe. They had launched 2 Max Steel Spikes off. So if it's a physical one, which honestly it's a good call, because if you've ever had to deal with Metagross in any type of VGC format, like I ran not Life Orb, Scarf Special Landorus on one of my teams just because they had a decent chance to knock out Mega Metagross with Earth Power. So honestly, it was a good call overall by them just to...
Yeah, and even more so now because it loves to just go for those Steel Spike boosts. So even then, like, I'm kind of surprised that it KO'd because Flygon's special attack stat is just fucking terrible. It's like 80. It's like base 80. I get that they were Life Orb and that was good, but, like, I'm surprised it was enough even with Life Orb. They kind of... they were able to take control of the game with Flygon after that. And they did a really good job of targeting down the Rotom Wash too.
Yeah.
Because the Rotom Wash was something that I think they were going to have a lot of trouble actually getting damage off into it. Especially because Bulu was behind the Flygon. You don't want to switch out your Flygon while it's maxed.
Yeah.
That was a good call, but I also really wonder how the game would have played out if they did not get that Draco Meteor crit onto the Centiskorch. Because the Centiskorch was AV.
And they were allowed to, I believe they just Horn Leeched it and knocked it out.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, Bulu was the last thing on that side after the Flygon went down. It was just able to come in and pick off the Centiskorch with the Horn Leech. You did EV Wartortle live a +2 Overgrowth. That was... okay. I'm actually kind of surprised that Wartortle can do that.
I mean, it's got Eviolite and decent defenses. I mean, they're not great, but they're decent. You can boost them up. Yeah. And then Joe came in and said that they were modest Life Orb, which was what I was going to say, is they had to have been like modest max special attack to get that KO.
I'm still surprised that was enough, because Fly got like, base 80. Oh.
No, because they did it with Max Quake, didn't they?
Well, yeah, I'm saying base 80 special attack.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the BP, sorry.
Yeah, no. Yeah. The Dynamax Metagross I thought was for sure going to live that, even if it was special, but nope.
No. Good job.
Yeah, so I wonder what would have happened if they didn't get that crit on Centiskorch, because it would have been really difficult for them to actually damage that thing. Because Bulu kind of did whatever it wanted, but they were... it felt like they were forced to
but once
cycle the other
was
side.
Out of there, it was over.
Right, exactly. Once Centiskorch was gone, the Wailords were able to just play super safe, and they just kept like cycling subs and protects on the Bulu, and they got so much HP back, especially
complete control.
Like, yeah, especially because they got some leech seed health back for like one or two turns in there, so
plus leftovers, plus grassy terrain, and then they were great sub game too, because I believe on one turn the sub went away and they just subbed up again.
Yeah.
Geez, so
so they just had complete control over that late game. I wonder how the game would have gone also if Alyssa ended up making a mistake on the Latias. They still had Bulldoze on it instead of Tailwind. So I think if they had gone for Tailwind turn 1 and then were able to, and then decided to knock out the Vullaby instead of just going for the Steel Spike on a Vanillux turn 2, I think that would have put him in a really commanding position where they would have been faster than the Flygon, and Metagross at least would have been able to get another max move off. We don't know what other moves it had. For all we know, maybe it had Ice Punch, so it could have Hailstormed the Flygon.
Yeah.
And the Latias also had Ice Beam, so it would have been able to Ice Beam the Flygon before it got the Max Quake boost. So I do wonder how that would have changed the game. It's just a really unfortunate, like this. I've seen this happen. I've seen this happen so many times in leagues where somebody gets to a battle and they're like, "Oh, I gen my Mons wrong" or something. They're missing a fourth move, or like they have the wrong move, or like, "Oh, I have the wrong ability," and suddenly this Pokemon doesn't work. Like, it's hard to it sucks. It really sucks, but it's hard to have sympathy for that, especially for veteran players though. Like, I check my Mons every time.
Yeah,
you got to do it too. It's oh yeah, you would have got Aurora Veil. I guess that's fair. I was mostly just thinking if they had Tailwind instead of Bulldoze, then it would have been the Metagross would have been able to outspeed the Flygon, and Flygon was immune to Bulldoze anyway, so that's a little rough. But it's hard to say.
So let me ask, just what do you think is probably your leader for MVP right now, most valuable Pokemon on a team? I mean, you have to say Flygon's probably up there. Maybe Regidrago as well might be up there.
Ice Horse has started to make a case for that this week.
Yeah, but this is just one game.
Oh, I know.
Game. I mean, I agree. I think it has the potential to also be MVP.
It's poking its head through the door. Yeah. If all the candidates for MVP are in one room,
I think Celesteela.
Yeah,
Celesteela's up there from Team Pussy.
Yeah.
I think Regidrago's up there right now.
Yeah.
And I think Flygon.
I'm gonna go with Shinx.
Shinx?
Yeah.
I think that's fair. That's not biased at all in any way.
Why? No.
It's strictly objective.
Yeah. Real talk, though, I think I would probably pick Regidrago. Even though it kind of got fucked this last week. You know, props to the Patrats for that. But just in general, like, holy shit.
Yeah. And I think Flygon probably is one of the big ones for me. But I think, Celesteela has just proven to be like such an amazing Pokemon for Team Pussy to be using.
That's true. Dina just mentioned that it's actually number 1 on the kill leaderboard right now. So
okay, so
Austin, get out of here with that shit. No, absolutely not. Get out.
But yeah, I think those three probably are the top ones right now. Flygon, Celesteela, and Regidrago.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So next after that actually you're gonna need to take this one.
Well, neither of us have actually watched this game.
Well, Shannon Moore talked to you about it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get a whole lot of info. It was basically just they led with Ice Horse and Riolu. They went for some combination of coaching and follow me, and I think they were also weakness policy on the horse. I don't know exactly what they did to activate it. Maybe self bullet punch, or maybe they just let the seniors do it. I'm not really sure.
Mach punch?
No, just bullet punch. Gets vacuum wave though. Either one of those. I mean, bullet punch is going to be less damage just because it's not stab. So, but either one, But they, Yeah, they were able to. They actually ran a slightly faster ice horse, enough to outspeed Clefairy, which apparently was very helpful. And I know that. Excuse me. Shannon told me that when the seniors maxed, they ended up going for 3 max guards in a row, just to help stall out the ice horse's max, I suppose. And then by the end of the game, the Glastrier was at like what did she say? Its stat boosts were kind of insane. By the end of the game, it was fuck you, Discord. It was like +6 attack and +2 defense and +1 special defense or something, and it was still alive. It was alive for the whole game, and it ended up getting 5 KOs. So the match, I believe, was just uploaded. I don't think it's been posted in the server yet. I'll post it later if it's not up by then. But
are they in the description?
Oh yes, yeah. So if you they tried for timer. Okay, you didn't go to time though, correct? Because I know that Glastrier got 5 kills, and I think something else got the 6th. But yeah. So in any case, it was a super. Yeah, they maxed the last. Okay, yeah. So they didn't max until the end, and the ice horse just not really much to say about that, especially because we haven't actually watched it yet. I think we'll just leave it at that. Big ice horse sweep. I'm hoping that this is the beginning of them figuring out how to utilize this thing.
Yeah, I think this is the beginning of some good stuff here.
Yeah, so because I think she also mentioned to me that after Riolu went down, they brought in one of their trick room setters and just went straight for trick room, which is perfect.
Yeah,
that's
what
what
you do.
Yeah, that's great. You don't always have to do that. You could just lead trick room up front as well, but that's totally viable. It's a good option. I'm glad it worked out for them, because it was a little bit difficult to see our finalists struggling in the first 3 weeks, especially because it looked like it just looked like they didn't quite know how to use their team yet. But sounds like they at least got it for this game. So
it's still early in the year too, so this is the perfect time to hit your stride.
And beating the seniors is no lab.
They're a playoff team. This was going to be a hard fought battle no matter what. And yeah, I honestly think the seniors have the team and the 2 players to make a deep run into the playoffs. So I think this is a really good win just in general for the Mudkips, because the seniors are not a pushover team at all.
For sure.
Next after that, we have the Matt Alcinas versus the New England Patrats. I swear I watched the first 4 turns of this game like 8 or 9 times. Oh my god.
They got it done, which I'm frankly surprised about.
Yeah, and it was close.
Yeah. I think it was, honestly, it wouldn't have been as close if they just got the speed right on the Kartana.
Yeah.
Because then they would have just outsped and killed the Urshifu straight. Because they were just going for Airstream, and then the Blaziken was going to, even if it was Sash, Blaziken would have just finished off with the Flare Blitz.
But I have to say, honestly, that the Patrats, Noglaka and Alex, have played very, very well these last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's really time for us to, like, understand that they probably were just dipping their toes in the first 2 weeks, because they led very standard Urshifu Thunderous stuff. Oh, geez, are we still...
I mean, we look okay over here.
It looks okay. You know what? Get to hell with you, Heckin. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's on your end. Oh, I'm sorry. We're so like insecure about our internet, dude. He may be talking about the match and how they kept on disconnecting.
I didn't even. Yeah. For $1 a day, you could.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, man. Like, we stayed and we tried to watch all of the streams, and they had to redo this one a few times. But what's it called? Yeah, they ended up leading Steelix and what was it? Gothitelle versus Ndidi and Reggie Drago. And man, see, this isn't up anymore, I don't think. But if you heard like Vishy and Ben talking, they're like, dude, we just helping hand Dragon Energy here. We knock out both Pokemon. This is a done deal. We're going to go for the 6-0. I think they said they're like 6-0 this time. Just joking. They always joke. But but then the Wide Guard came out on the Steelix.
Yeah, that was good tech.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and what made it even worse is they were trapping both Mons in. They tried to switch the Drago out, and they're like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
And they were specs. They were locked into Dragon Energy. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was...
It was rough. It was rough. So, honestly, like I said, props to the Patrats, because I feel like the week before they led Lapras next to Amoonguss, and I felt that they prepped very well, and they played to their outs, and they did everything that they needed to do. And then this week they did the same thing. So, yes, they haven't won a game, or they've won one game, but I think that we're starting to see a lot of progress from the two of them, and a lot better play, a lot better prep. So I think things are looking up for them, man. I'd be excited. I know they took a loss this week, but the Mats are a good team. Ben and Vichy are good players. But this one ultimately came down to, at the timer, I believe it was 1-1. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just a Swampert and Silvally left.
Yeah. And essentially, basically what was going on was the Gothitail got Trick Room set up. They were able to kind of stall out the Trick Room a little bit. The Mats were able to come back. They had the Kartana out. It was getting boosted up. They got out of Trick Room. They had the Blaziken. Switch in Damp Swampert.
I noticed you had Damp. I wondered why. I forgot that Silvally likes to use Explosion.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they were preparing to switch in Damp Swampert. But how are you going to switch in on a Gothitail lead?
Right. Right. You should have used Shed Shell, boy.
This is our, what's it called?
We're playing doubles. Nobody even knows what Shed Shell is.
Yeah. No, I believe somebody used it at a regional one time.
Oh, really?
They used Shed Shell on Sakataka, I think.
Why?
I don't know, man. Ultra Series was a weird time for everybody.
Oh, Ultra Series doesn't count. Neither does 16.
Yeah, because it was for Gengar. For Mega Gengar.
Oh, God. Anyway, back to something that's not a primal format.
But, the Blaziken came out. They started getting boosts. As you said, they EV'd the Kartana wrong, so it wasn't able to outspeed, and it was able to get knocked out. But ultimately, I mean, you have to give the Patrats credit. They were able to play to their outs. They played to the very end.
Some crackhead used it at EUIC.
Yeah, I knew it was like a major, dude.
Yeah.
But Mats ended up winning this one. But promising stuff from the Patrats, man. I honestly think that they're looking up from here on out. Mm-hmm. So.
I do want to give some props to Ben and Vichy, though. They played the Trick Room turns pretty well.
Yeah.
Especially preserving the Indeedee the best they could, and which turned out okay because this is sort of a testament also to how lackluster the Patrats Trick Room mode is, because the Steelix is, I mean, we were ragging on Flygon for having a base 80 special attack. Steelix is not much better. Its base attack is 85. And you can kind of see that in the damage it was doing. It didn't have a boosting item or anything. It just it was struggling
going for raw 65 base power Fire Fangs.
Yeah, it was struggling to get a lot of damage off, and they did okay with like some of those low base power Dragon Energies kind of chipping it down, and a couple of expanding forces as well. And then when they got out of Trick Room, of course, the Urshifu, surprise outsped. I'm assuming it was banned Urshifu.
Yeah.
But they also played the Blaziken really well in the end game with those substitutes, and also going for 2 Sword Stances just to absolutely make sure they get the KO on Dynamax Thundurus. And yeah, that was really nice. Unfortunate that the recoil ended up KOing, because they would have been able to take out the Silvally then. Mm-hmm. But they also mentioned that if the Thundurus, when they were going for their second the second Sword Stance, they mentioned that if the Thundurus doesn't break the sub, then they just close combat twice, which is so they don't take recoil. Yeah, which is perfect, absolutely perfect. And then they just win for sure, because then they just get a big +4 Flare Blitz off on the flying type Silvally. So they got they've got some good heads on their shoulders.
They do, man. They're just they're our favorites for a reason. And not just because they're your kids.
Just please EV your shit at level 100 next time, please.
And maybe bring a bluff.
Yeah.
Did she?
Yeah.
I know that's not gonna work.
They can get away with it. It's okay. Anything more to say about that one?
No, I saw it a bunch of times.
Yeah, we did. Holy shit. Next one is Doesn't Click versus the Ally Switch Spammers. This one was weird because this also ended in a tie in terms of how many mons were left. Came down to was HP percentage.
4-4 or 3-3?
4-4.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as Vishy's the one not bringing the bluff, we can blame him. It's fine. So yeah, Doesn't Click managed to eke out a victory here. He has the EV's memorized at level 50. Okay. Yeah, don't do that. Doesn't Click and the Spammers ended up finishing at 4-4, which is a little bit weird because it they mentioned this in the spoilers chat. It felt like there was much more game to be played.
Yeah.
And it was really not clear how it was going to play out. Which this is honestly one of the most unfortunate timer finishes because there was just it wasn't even clear who was going to take. Because sometimes there's a timer finish where it was like, man, if there was just 5 more minutes left, the other team would have won, right? And the team that did end up winning just won because the timer was taken down and they started stalling, right? This one, it was just like, fuck, man. They both had 4 mons left.
Mm-hmm.
I think Doesn't Click was in a good position, but they ended up winning mostly just because they were able to get a lot more damage off, which really helped them with those HP percentages.
Yeah.
The game began with it was the Focus Sash Volcarona next to the Dynamax Dragapult. And then for the Spammers, they had Focus Sash Regieleki next to the Dynamax Cinderace. They kind of just traded some max moves. Both of the Focus Sash mons went down. And then a really nice call, actually, by Doesn't Click was to switch the Dragapult out because they did want to preserve... They at least wanted to keep that mon alive because it was at very low HP. It was at the point where if they had attacked one more time, they would have died to their own Life Orb. So switching out at that point was a really good move.
Key.
It saved them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would have been 4-3. So really, really nice move there. And then they just had the speed advantage, and they were just able to click moves and kind of force the Spammers to play more defensively, whether they were in or out of Trick Room. Because out of Trick Room they had the speed advantage with Scarf Toxtricity. I don't even know if any of those moves revealed that it was scarfed.
No.
But they were able to just...
none of the speed stats mattered. They were just locked in a scarf.
Right. But they were able to just keep clicking Overdrive and just getting damage off, even if it was just
It forced Musharna to stay into Moonlight, basically.
Yeah, that too. And even some of the damage they were getting off on Tangela, obviously was resisted, but,
but still.
If they were just able to keep clicking those moves, that was good damage. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, their Trick Room mode just beats the Spammers. They had the
Escavalier.
the Escavalier and Aromatisse. Escavalier especially, because it's slower than the Caparaja and had Drill Run. The Overcoat makes it so that the Tangela can't slow it down in Trick Room, and they always had the speed advantage because their Trick Room mode was slower, and then they had that Toxtricity just beating them down. And the Spammers did a decent job of playing defensively and keeping their mons alive, but they were taking so much damage through that process that even though the Dragapult was really, really low, Doesn't Click was still able to win on HP percentage. So that's kind of how that one ended up playing out.
Yeah, it sucks because, like you said, it felt like there was a lot more game that needed to be played, but I feel that at the end of the day, Ryan and Fiona really had the control almost. I understand that certain plays can shift momentum certain ways, but it really felt that Ryan and Fiona were in the driver's seat that whole time, and they didn't stop being in the driver's seat. So I think it really has a lot to do with just how defensive the spammers played, in a testament to that, because they really did play to their outs. I mean, it could have got really ugly really fast. It looked like, and they were able to just maintain, not take any losses, and kind of match them mon for mon, and it just came down to a few rolls. So honestly, just a good game overall. You want to take the next one too?
Sure, yeah. So we got the St. Louis Bulus versus Team Pussy. I don't really remember. Mostly what I remember is when they should have max guarded the Heatran. Do you remember more about this than I do?
I don't. That's why I asked you
to
handle it.
I don't even remember what the leads were.
Why
didn't I watch this one today?
Diggersby and
Ghastly. This is the one where they led Ghastly. So they led Diggersby Togedemaru?
Yeah, Diggersby Togedemaru.
And Ghastly next to what?
Another Pokemon.
That's not helpful. Want to pull it up?
Yeah, pull it
Fuck
up.
it. All right, here we go. This is why being live is nice. All right. Hopefully Discord is... Oh, it's not being stupid. That's good. Okay. Here we go. Oh, come on. Okay, here we go. Okay. So they had a little bit of explanation of their team first. Oh, come on, Internet. Don't do this. Oh, God.
Yeah, well...
I mean, our stream looks fine, but this is... Oh, God, whoa.
No idea.
Do you want to come back to this one last?
We'll talk about the Jurors real quick.
Okay.
Maybe hit refresh.
Yeah, we'll just wait for that to...
So after that, we have the Jurors versus the Pixies here. Dina and Taryn versus Taryn's boyfriend Ty and one of our good friends Nick. He's one of the locals in SoCal. Honestly, a pretty decent game, all things considered. It felt like the Jurors were in control for the most part.
Mostly, yeah.
But there were a couple of turns that the Pixies were able to get KOs where they needed to make sure that they kept it close. But they led Raichu and Victini, something that we saw against the Mats that has proven to be a decent lead of theirs.
Yeah.
And then next to Genesect and I believe it was Crobat.
Yes.
And they right off the bat, turn one. That's the name that sorry.
Delibirds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben asked, "Why don't you guys want coal for Christmas?" Because of one of our tabs says that, but that's the name of one of the replays.
I blame Dan.
Come on, you think we have anything inappropriate on our tabs? We have incognito tabs for that you can't see off the screen. Jeez.
You really wanted to mention that? Okay.
But they led with the brutal swing stuff, weakness policy. Obviously, the Genesect was threatened, so they swapped that out right away into Milotic. But man, that weakness policy max flare, I believe it did like maybe 55. They brought it into the yellow, it was a 2-shot, set up the sun, and they just kept on max flaring into it. They were like, what are you gonna do, Milotic? Like, you're gonna eat another one of these? And they did do a life dude, was able to hang on in the sun anyway. Yeah. But ultimately, they just launched these +2 max flares next to Tangrowth, being able to redirect things, and had a decent amount of other techs that I don't think we saw any of them, just Sleep Powder, huh? Was able to put...
Yeah, I think the only moves that actually went for were the Sleep Powder and Leaf Storm.
Yeah.
It didn't even get the Leaf Storm off because both of the ones had gone down, so...
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the...
Sleep Powder was crucial.
Yeah.
Even though it was only a 1-turn sleep,
it was just able to kind of limit their max a little bit.
Yeah.
So props to Dina and Taryn, because even when the Victini got out of the max, it was still able to launch off some really, really powerful heat waves in the sun. Was able to do really good damage. They were able to get the Victini out, and then kind of right into a like Tapu Fini Drift Blim mode, and were able to kind of calm mind up and get Tailwind off. Strength Sap, awesome tech that we saw coming out from it, was able to neuter their Mudsail pretty good. And then after that, it just seemed like Tapu Fini just went and cleaned up.
Strength Sap and Defog too.
Yeah,
because Defog allowed those Muddy Waters to be 100% accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Which came in pretty clutch because it almost forced the switch out into Slowbro, and it had a Moonblast, which got it to -1, and was able to switch over the side shell arm from special to physical. Did less damage to the Fini because of that. Might have been a roll. We're really not sure. Ty and Nick said that they think that it would have mattered a little bit if they would have just decided to go for physical instead of special.
On the investment. You mean?
On the investment, yeah. Yes. But I mean, it's just it is what it is. And after that, Tapu Fini more or less cleaned up. Tapu Fini, though, it's pretty clear because pretty weird because even though it looked like it was very commanding, I believe the Jurors had Serena in the back, and there wasn't really going to be a way for it to get through the Slowbro, the Galarian Slowbro. Yeah. So the Tapu Fini living actually was a huge part of them winning overall because I don't know they win if that Tapu Fini goes down. So
right, that the Quick Claw from the Slowbro toward the end of the game was really crucial.
Yeah.
Because of that, if the Tapu Fini had taken any more damage at any other point, the Pixies would have won. So like the sleep powder just getting rid of one of Mudsdale's max turns saved them. Having Citrus Berry on Tapu Fini instead of like a Pinch Berry saved them. So it was the Fini was down into the red when the game was over, and then the Slowbro, because it's the Galarian form has a kind of a weird stat distribution. It's not as bulky as you'd expect a regular Slowbro to be, so it just went down to that Muddy Water after it took
Muddy Water,
after it took the Moonblast. So,
and man, that Mudsail was so thick. It was +2 special defense with Assault Vest, and it was just eating those Muddy Waters up like nothing. So, honestly, just a really good game. We ready to test this here? Are we gonna see if we're going?
Sure. Yeah. What? Wait. Okay. Hold on. Okay.
Here we go.
Should be good now. Ghastly and Togetic. So
no, they switched out the Togetic, or they switched into Togetic. It was Blastoise.
Oh yeah, they had the Scarf Blastoise. Is it gonna work?
No, I doubt it. But this one was actually pretty close too, because the Blastoise might have cleaned up if they had a little bit more turns left. Because it was going to outspeed a lot of the stuff that they had here.
Oh, that's some good quality right there.
Beautiful.
Jesus, man, what the fuck?
I mean, we're asking for a lot here.
I guess. Let's just scroll through here and they got the Rillaboom. Oh, they ran Swords Dance Rillaboom. That was really nice, and they got some pretty good damage off. The Mantine ended up being physically bulky with a Keyberry, so it ended up living. But I think it was the Max Celesteela really enabled Team Pussy to blow through them here. But when the Bulus came in and maxed their Heatran, they thought that the Max Guard was pretty obvious, so they decided not to go for it. Turned out in retrospect the Max on the Max Guard on that turn would have been a great play because it was Celesteela's last turn of Max, and the Heatran ended up going down to a Max Quake plus close combat from
Pangoro.
Yeah, the Celesteela Pangoro combo. So, this shit's not gonna work. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but that was kind of the that was the spot where they could have taken it, because then Celesteela's Max would have been over, and they were doing okay damage to it when it was max, but
and the Max Flare just didn't do enough to justify not Max Guarding. I think that was really the thing, is it probably did in Dynamax, it did maybe 35-40% to it.
Yeah. You need to be hitting it after the Dynamax is over.
Yeah, that's just not enough. So I think the Max Guard probably was the best play there. And The Bulus and Ally Switch Spammers are probably the most curious teams because neither have yet to get a win, but their play doesn't really reflect their record.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they've both those teams have played very, very well. They just haven't come out with the win yet. So unfortunate. Team Pussy continues. You know, its reign of dominance now in this season. But I think the Bulus and the Ally Switch Spammers are going to rebound. I mean, they're good teams. They have good drafts. You know, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this is not. I don't expect either of those teams to stay this way.
Yeah.
So,
if anything, it's just a testament to how stacked this league is. People really, really, really underestimate how stacked this league is. Maybe not anymore once you start to see everything now.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's weird looking at both the standings and the power rankings because then you're like, wait, those teams are down that low, and those teams have taken that many losses, and it's like. Somebody has to, man. There's not a lot of teams that you kind of expect to be hanging out down near the bottom, and so there has to be some good teams that are doing badly, and I think the Bulus and the Spammers are those teams right now. So, I mean Mudkips as well, but the Mudkips at least have a win now.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on to power rankings.
Right into it this time.
12 through 18, yes. We don't have any transactions to go over this time, although transactions will be starting tomorrow. We have trades available during Week 5 that are usable in Week 6. So if I forget to mention that, I was going to make a little announcement about that at the end, but I was also probably going to forget to do that at the end. So if you were not aware, if you were not aware, transactions this week, they're going to be starting tomorrow. I believe Dave is compiling the list of who is in what spot, so he'll be starting that tomorrow. So number 18, we've got the Dark Web Porygons down here. They are, I believe, our only 0-4 team currently. Is that correct?
The Spammers are 0-3.
Yeah, they had a bye week.
And the Bulus are 0-3.
Yes.
Yes, so they're the only 0-4 team. Correct.
Not really much to say here. We've talked about their matches a lot, and we kind of pointed out where they went wrong, where maybe they just made some crucial mistakes or made some plays that took them out of the game when maybe they could have won. I think we've gone into the specifics enough. It was they made some pretty serious errors this past week too. So. There are only 0-4 team down here at number 18. Anything more to say on them?
I don't want to kind of harp on them at all, but like this is something that we talked about previously when we were in prep. If you look at our teams in team preview, this team has a massive advantage against us.
Yeah.
A massive one. We were really, really behind the 8 ball when we were building for this. Because, you know, it doesn't matter in this league. If you're in this league, you're going to do your best prep. So we wanted to make sure. And sure enough, we were like, you know, Barraskewda next to Redirection or Grimmsnarl next to Zapdos are their best leads. So we should prep for those leads. And sure enough, the Grimmsnarl Zapdos came out. And we were able to, you know, kind of take care of it from there. But there were still a lot of situations where it was very difficult for us to prep for that stuff. Because if they had played a couple of things differently, it would have really just turned the game around. So it's a little rough, but I think that, you know, they have a decent team. They should be able to turn it around, but there's just so many.
On paper, the team is like pretty good, especially after these transactions.
Yeah.
And especially because I think they're probably looking to get rid of Pikachu.
Yeah.
Which they absolutely should. It's just that they had the tools to at least make our lives really difficult in this matchup. And they just didn't. Not only did they not really use any of them, but they made some really serious errors in their play as well. So, yeah.
I mean, somebody's got to be at the bottom of this list. It's just unfortunate it's them, but they're going to be sitting at 18. And then 17, we have the Pixies. They're moving down. A lot of people are moving down a slot just because these are teams that just took losses this week for the most part. I think that they've played decently, but inconsistency seems to be the real.
Yeah, yeah, hasn't been super consistent.
Yeah. Like I think against the Bulus, they played really well because yes, they got a little bit of RNG, but then they also played to their absolute strengths throughout that entire time, and were able to. You can get RNG sometimes and still fumble the game at the end and lose, And they stuck on it. They made sure that they made the right plays and came out on top, and really put them in positions that didn't allow them to come back. Haven't really seen a lot of that. Even this game against the Jurors, it seemed like they were behind the 8 ball constantly, and they were only taking what the Jurors were allowing them to take. So I think we could see some better things out of Nick and Ty, but for right now, I think down here at number 17, they're down a spot.
Yeah. Number 16, we got the Patrats. It's weird that the Patrats are moving down just because they've been doing better, but they did take a loss this week.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been a more convincing win by the Mats if they had just gotten that Cartana speed right. But yeah, they've been doing better. They are significantly less one-dimensional than they were in the first 2 weeks. First 2 weeks, it kind of felt like they just tossed the Urshifu Thunderous out there, and every team that plays against the Patrats are gonna have serious prep for an Urshifu Thunderous lead. It's the most obvious thing on their team, and they kind of just got rolled because of it. They switched some things up, did better in the next 2 weeks. I think because of how poorly they did those first 2 weeks. They're still down here as one of our lower ranking teams. I think if they continue to make some more transactions and continue to play the way they've been playing in week 3 and 4, and hopefully pick up a couple of wins, they have a lot of potential to move up given how they're doing. I think. Well, I have another point about these 3 right here, but you can go ahead and take 15.
Okay. The Raiders coming in at 15 here. Taking a loss this week to the Delibirds. It's tough because I think the Raiders too. They have a decent team, and it's just been a little bit of a rough go at it. I feel that, especially this last week, going for like the Dragonite Colossal stuff, it's very you want to catch a team that can't do anything about it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's more what it's for.
Yeah. Rather than like try and force something that is very strong on into like your game plan. And I think that they might have forced that out, and now, unfortunately, because of the loss that it took, it's almost like worse right now, right? Like it looks a lot less threatening. You're probably going to be more iffy to use it because it just didn't really do what you needed it to do. And kind of put you behind the 8 ball a lot of the time, because like even Inteleon or Togekiss would have been a better max in a lot of these particular options, specifically against Moltres. Like if you had Togekiss that was going to be able to max, while the Moltres was able to max, it might have been a different ball game, But we'll see. I think another thing that kind of hurts too is that we saw the Drillers went and took another redirector to put next to Blastoise. We haven't seen that from the Raiders yet. And they're still forced to bring the Togekiss as this redirector, and it is just getting blown up every single time it hits the field. And we saw with the Sky Pillars last season and with Team Pussy the season before that, the best Togekiss is the Togekiss that you're not expecting, that your opponent's not expecting. Like, oh man, they're going to think we're running redirection here. We're going Crit Kiss, or we have Tailwind support, or, with Helping Hand, stuff like that. Everybody always forgets it gets Tailwind for whatever reason. But,
I mean, people are just super used to it in Gen 8 VGC where it doesn't, so.
There's so many things that you can do with this thing, and I think the problem right now is that Togekiss every week you're like, yeah, that thing has to redirect. So...
Right.
A good team, but I just think that it's for the team composition itself is forcing a little bit of static building.
Yeah. I think getting a second redirector, it would be really difficult at this point, given what's left.
Yeah. They need to do it for the first transactions.
Right. The only ones left really are like, I think a Alolan Raichu still left in A tier. But getting rid of any of these A tiers would be rough. We harped on the Colossal a little bit, but like it's not like we think having Colossal is bad here. I just think that like I want to reiterate your point because I think it's really really important. Colossal is mostly there to use against teams that don't really have as many options against it. It's not the kind of thing where you're like, well, hope we catch them off guard and they didn't prep for Colossal, because everybody's going to prep for Colossal. You gotta find some teams that don't have good Colossal matchups.
Yeah,
those are the ones. Or at least those are the ones that you lead it against. I would say you could still potentially bring it in the back too. Once you maybe get rid of their like big water or ground type that's threatening it, or but at least for a lead, yeah, you want to lead that against teams that can't deal with it as well as others. So I don't think it's I don't think it's really worth dropping any of these A tiers for Alolan Raichu, and then I think all the redirectors in B tier are gone, and then in C tier you have to resort to like the Pichu or the Squirtle, or I think there's Togepi. Yeah, those are the three baby E tiers left, or C tiers left that can redirect. But you'd have a lackluster redirector then, and you'd have to get rid of the Rapidash, which I think is good here. I think the Rapidash is good on this team comp, especially as an alternative fire type, because Colossal's a little bit weird. You don't always want to bring it. It's Rapidash is one of the things that we mentioned in our segment on what's good to trade for. So getting rid of it, I don't think would be the best idea. So I don't really know what they would do about that at this point, but
Yeah, it's a little rough. We'll see what exactly happens. It looks like we're having a little bit of spotty internet here too, from what Shannon's saying. Check the general too, just in case. We'll keep talking though, just in case.
Okay. I mean, our speed here looks okay, but yeah, it was going red for a little bit. Someone have Electivire? Yes, the Mad Alcinas have Electivire.
Yes.
Yeah, Ben and Vishy have that one. So, I'm pretty sure all the B tier redirectors are gone after the Porygons picked up the Electabuzz. So, it's slim pickings if you're trying to pick up a redirector in transactions right now.
Yeah.
One last thing I'll say about 15 through 17, I think you can kind of make a case for these three to be in any order. We mostly just kept it this way because this was the order that these three were in last time when they were 14 through 16 instead. We just had to move the Mudkips up, we felt. So, there was part of me that was thinking about actually putting the Raiders lower, but when I saw their game, I at least noticed that this week their play was better. Yeah. Weeks 2 and 3 was a little bit rough. There was some pretty serious mistakes that we were noticing. This week, their decision making during the game was quite a bit better. I guess our main gripe is the prep this time. Yeah. I get the Colossal though, because if you're it does beat the Moltres if those are the two that you're maxing at the same time. But it's I don't know if I don't think the Delibirds have been leading with Moltres anyway, so no. And you have to, especially not against this team, they're not going to lead Moltres because you have to lead something that at least has some kind of a game plan against Colossal. Mm-hmm. So made total sense what the Delibirds did here. A good attempt at by the Raiders, probably not the best lead, but you guys played better this time.
Yeah. I'm going to group these next two teams together.
Okay, yeah.
Because they're so similar, in my opinion. The Spammers and the Bulus. The reason why is because, look, I don't really know the Bulus too well. You're more familiar with them because they're from a league that you're in. The Spammers, obviously, they're previously the Toronto Talonflames. They were top 4 last season. And they drafted a very good team this season too. So you're just wondering what's going on.
Both these teams on paper are very good.
Yes, but they're both winless, and it's really tough. So yes, there are teams here that have a win over them, but I just feel that if the Bulus were just losing outright and were just getting completely annihilated, then obviously they would be down there with with the other winless teams, the Porygons and stuff like that. But they're not. They're barely losing on a lot of these these particular matchups. I mean, geez, the Spammers lost 4-4. Like, that's unheard of.
Well, the Bulus lost 4-4 in week 1.
Yeah, the Blues lost 4-4. So it's a real tough go. I like both their drafts. I like the prep that's coming out from both their players, from both their teams, I should say. It's just the wins aren't coming in, unfortunately, for them. So
yeah,
we'd love to bring these guys up. It was just like how the Mudkips, we were ready to bring the Mudkips up,
especially with how they did
how
this week.
They playoff team, what we believe is going to be a playoff team. We'd love to bring them up, but the wins need to start coming in, unfortunately, and they're just not here yet.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's a reason that even though they don't have any wins, there's a reason they're above teams that do have wins. The Raiders and Patrats and Pixies, they all have one win each, but we feel that the Bulus and Spammers have just been playing better, prepping better generally, and they've been a little bit more consistent. Their games have been closer.
Yeah.
So which is why it's good to have power rankings instead of just standings based on the numbers by themselves.
Because you could honestly say, and I say this with no disrespect to the Delibirds, but I could see the Delibirds, the St. Louis Bulus, and the Ally Switch Spammers kind of all being in that same tier of they could either be 3-1 or 0-3. It really just depends because the games have been that close. And even more credit to the Delibirds too, because they've been able to finish a lot of their games, but there has been a couple of times where they could easily be, one of the lower ranked teams, but they've been able to pull out the wins, and we're being able to reward them for that. We just aren't seeing that from these two teams yet. Doesn't mean that it's not going to come, but I mean, man, we're this is week 5 or our week 5 power rankings, right? Week 4 power rankings, sorry. So, I mean, they got to start coming one way or the other. Both these teams had bye weeks early in the season, too, so I think that makes it look worse. They're not 0-4, they're 0-3.
Right.
But still, we're waiting for that to happen before we can really start, getting them higher up on these lists.
They also have some... at least parts of their early schedules are difficult.
Yes.
I know that. I mean, I don't blame the Bulus, for example, for losing to Team Pussy, and then this coming week they're having to play Doesn't Click.
Yeah,
that's rough, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Spammers, they also just played Doesn't Click. I think one of their losses also was Team Pussy, right? Yeah. So strength of schedule is a factor here, which is why I think I agree with you saying that the Delibirds are potentially on that same level because they've had a much easier time with their beginning schedule. Mm-hmm. Playing they played the Bulus first, and then the Porygons and the Raiders. So I think that's fair. Number 12 is going to be the Mudkips taking a very dominant win this week. Very, very impressive that they were able to beat out a team like the Seniors that is a good team in terms of players and their draft on paper.
Yes.
I'm just so happy to see Shannon and Ferret finally pull out a win here because I mean for fuck's sake, they were our finalists last season, and that wasn't a fluke. They dominated. They were the first seed in their division, and they had good wins in playoffs. They took a game off of us in finals. They're not fucking around.
We haven't had as much opportunity to kind of do anything, but this dominant win that they had, and I would say that their losses probably have been worse than ours, but just against a good team like this, you really have to give them good credit. So moving up 5 spots, I mean,
and part of it was because they had a really dominant win, and part of it was because given how good we know they are, given how good a lot of their team is, and given how dominant this win is, it's just very, very difficult to justify putting them below any of these other teams on the screen right now. So honestly, the 12 I think it's well deserved. So, and moving on to 6 through 11. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Look at that Shinx up top. Oh, it's so good.
We had no movement.
11 first.
I know, that's what I'm saying, is we had no movement in 11 and 10.
Oh, yes.
Just in the power rankings, yeah. Both of us got wins, the Jurors and the Burnouts. But just ultimately there wasn't really enough of a reason to put the Jurors above us. We felt that the wins were kind of equal. Our losses have kind of been around the same as theirs. We just have one less, so it was kind of hard for us to justify movement anyway.
Yeah.
For either of these two teams.
And it was a lot of it was because the Jurors were up pretty high for an 0-3 team anyway.
Yeah. It's
mostly just because they still did well in their losses and their team on paper is really good. So we felt like a lot of this also just came down to Tina, get the fuck out of here. A lot of this came down to where we needed to place other teams as well. But it was hard to move either us or the Jurors up. And us, we moved up 2 spots last time when we had a bye week because of where we needed to put other teams. So I think it's fair to say that movement from last time
just kind of made us stagnant this time.
Right. That can account for the win that we got this week. So no movement from either 10 or 11.
And also, we can't make anybody happy. I mean, literally all last season, we didn't go below 2 on the power rankings, and we've been double digits like this whole season. Everybody's still like, you guys are rigging it.
I'm seeing at least 4 scams and 1 collusion in the chat right now. Those are some pretty heavy accusations, and you're right.
Yes.
This is a scam. This is rigged. None of this is. We're fixing all of it. You're correct, and we don't care.
Nope.
We don't care if you know. We're gonna keep doing it.
Blatant corruption here. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it was tough for us to have movement going up last week because we needed to move teams down. So I mean, yeah, just null and void.
You'll allow it, Dina? You don't get to make that decision. We do it even if you don't allow
it. 9, do you want to take the seniors?
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say about the seniors. They took another loss. They were already down at 8. I didn't feel justified in putting them below us because, for one thing, they have one more win than we do, and also they moved down. They moved down a lot last time, even just after 1 loss. Mostly, again, because of where we needed to put other teams. So I don't think it makes much sense to punish them too much for this loss, even though it was a pretty devastating one. I mean, they took a loss. They're at 2-2 down at number 9.
And the Delibirds moving up a spot. They took another win. Played the Raiders, so hey, you win, you move up. So they've been playing well. I really like their prep this week. I think they did a good job. So
they also did not move up after they got a win last week.
Yep,
or week before last week because they had a bye at some point. But yeah.
So honestly, kudos to them. Keep on going, guys. You guys,
One thing I'll say about the Delibirds though is that I don't want us to forget that they are one of our undefeated teams right now, which is weird. Because they're down at 8, they're not up in the top 5, but it's mostly like I mentioned. It's a lot of it has to do with strength of schedule. The teams that they've beaten, they all collectively have 1 win.
Yeah.
So, I think the win against the Bulus was a little bit more significant because they haven't taken a win yet. Are still stronger than the teams below them that have 1 win, but still, I mean, they played against 3 low ranking teams, so I'm very curious to see how they do against some of our top tier teams, especially ones that are sitting up in the top 5 right now.
Yeah. So I do think that's a good good thing to add to the Delibirds. They're an undefeated team right now. They're looking good. I don't know if it's a wait and see completely, but they're not a finished product yet.
Yes.
How about that?
For sure.
And then moving down is Po-Tay-Toes. I believe this is their second loss. Or no, they lost week 1. They lost this last week.
Yeah.
So, taking another loss, they're 2-2. We like the squad and we like the players. I mean, there's not really a lot to say about it. Yes, they lost. They've played some really good teams, though. They had to play Doesn't Click. They had to play. The Wailords. They had to play. Very good, just good teams in general. So honestly, kudos to them.
And they've still been
for
playing
doing well. Yeah, but
even in their losses.
And we think that this is one of their best drafts, but we have to move them down a little bit, unfortunately. Right. So, especially considering that Doesn't Click took a win, against the team that knocked them out of playoffs last week. Even if it was a 4-4 win, they still got that win.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure they were happy to get a little bit of revenge. They did mention that in their post-com as well. So
yeah,
this was the team that knocked them out of top 8. So I'm sure they were happy to take a win here, even if it was a weird. Yeah, I mean they only have one loss to Team Pussy. Makes sense. We typically expect both Team Pussy and Doesn't Click to be top tier teams. So they got a decent win. They eked one out off of time, but I think they still. I also don't want to diminish how well they did, even though this game did go to time. Because like we said, they were able to keep pressure on, and they kept the speed advantage both in and out of Trick Room, and the decision to switch out Dragapult just to keep one more mon alive was just absolutely key. So props to them for that.
All right, let's get into the top 5, even though we'll just go ahead and spoil it for you guys.
Top 5 is exactly the same as it was last week.
Sorry. I mean, we had 2 of our undefeated teams going on bye, so...
Yeah. Mats took a win. It was a little bit... what the fuck? Why'd the chat disconnect? Somebody let us know in the server, just in general, if we're still live. If you can still hear and see us, because for some reason... I mean, it's just the chat on OBS just disconnected for us, so... they're...
See that?
No, just... It'll try to reconnect us, but we can bring it back. We can try to bring it back up if it doesn't reconnect us. But until then, we can keep going. So the Mats here, number 5. They took a good win here, even though it was a little weird, mostly because of that the EV problem on the Kartana. Would have been a little bit more dominant instead of having to rely on the time. If they had been able to just roll through with
gosh darn it, he has to be trolling them.
I mean, I guess so. Like, okay, so it probably would have been a more dominant win if they were able to do what they wanted to do with Kartana. They definitely would have picked up the Urshifu because they were just going for an Airstream double target into it. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're still good. Thanks, guys. So unfortunate EV error there, but do your shit at level 50, or I mean 100.
Yeah, not at level 50.
Yeah.
I believe you, Vishy. I understand you're a genius, and I'm not gonna lie. If you'd be like, dude, trust me, you don't think I know the EVs to try and get this Kartana? Oh, of course I am. Be like, you're right, Vishy. Like, why would I question you? So, but it's been a while. Go ahead.
So that's about it. We couldn't really move them up anymore because the teams above them are all still undefeated, and the 2 teams above them, they had a bye week this week, so there's nothing really to say here. We talked about the Drillers number 4 last time.
Love you guys.
We do?
I do.
Yeah, okay. That's, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but, and then, of course, we got the Reggie Geezers here at number 3. Both the Geezers and the Drillers took a bye week. They're coming back into week 5, both 3-0, looking to keep that undefeated record, so we'll see if they can do that. But that's about it for those 2. Not really anything to say since they didn't even play this week. I'm just going to keep them right where they are. And boom, Wailords.
Yep, it's tough to... This was interesting because I feel both teams had a very... even though they went off timer, the Wailords went off timer, I feel that their win was dominant. because they got into position, they played extremely safe, and even though it went to time, they were in control of pretty much that whole last half of the match. There was nothing that they could do to break through what they had, but because Team Pussy also had a very, very, very strong win, and they did a really good job.
Well, they won on time too.
Yeah, and but I mean, it was like really good wins, so you can't really push the Wailords past. If Team Pussy had barely made it through and absolutely was on the edge of everything, which we still don't know because we think that the Scarf Blastoise might have done pretty good. But I don't see that there's enough of a reason.
I think the key, I guess we can just we can move on to Team Pussy then.
Yeah.
If we're talking about these two, I think the key in Team Pussy's match more was the Heatran Max turn.
Yeah.
Because with the amount of damage that the Celesteela was taking from the Water Spout at the end, I think. Even without the timer, I think it would have been able to just stall out with Leech Seeds as well. It was... they obviously did go for time just because that was a safer win condition, and props to them for that. They know what they're doing. But I think their match this week was maybe a little bit... it was a little bit closer, I think, than you think it is. Mostly because I do think that the Bulus probably win if they just max guard Heatran that turn. I'd have to go back and look again, but I think they probably take it if they just make that
That's
one
true.
Play.
But I think that also goes the other way too. Not to get too much into it, but the Scorch getting crit and allowing the Bulu to kind of just clean it up.
Yeah.
And because that was the only thing that was going to stop Bulu.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in general there were a couple things that went their way, but I don't see any reason to justify putting the Wailords above Team Pussy at this point.
Right, that's
the
exactly
main thing,
it.
you know?
Like it's not that the Wailords are undeserving of the first slot. It's just that that's where these teams were already. We think it was justified previously, and the Wailords didn't quite do enough compared to Team Pussy to put them up above them. It's possible for them to do well enough, even if both of these teams keep winning and they both keep an undefeated record. If Team Pussy starts to falter a little bit, maybe their wins are a little bit less convincing and the Wailords are more convincing. It's possible the Wailords totally move up, even if they're both still undefeated. We'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Yes, definitely. So that's anticlimactic. Same top 5 as last week, but there was no movement really.
That's just what happens. We can't.
We 2 of your top 5 have a bye week.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So here are your final week 4 power rankings. We got the Dark Web at the bottom. We have a bunch of teams moving down here, and we got the Mudkips moving up. So we got the Pixies, Patrats, Raiders, Spammers, and Bulus all moving down now 13 through 17. We got the Mudkips taking a really decisive win, taking up the number 12 spot. The Burnouts and Jurors staying at number 10, number 11. Even though we got some decent wins, although they were against some lower ranking teams, we were up a little bit high for not having taken a win anyway, so we're staying where we are. Seniors taking a loss, moving down 1 slot. They're still 2-2. Delibirds taking another win. They are still 3-0, but not quite dominant enough to move into the top 5, mostly because of strength of schedule. So we will see how they do against some of these top-ranking teams in the future. Po-Tay-Toes at number 7, taking a loss this week. Doesn't click. Barely eking out a win here. Still, got to give them props for that, even though it was this weird 4-4 timer end game. They did take a win. I do think they deserve it. And then, of course, our top 5 is the same as last week, because 3 of these teams got wins and 2 of them were on a bye week. So we got the Mats at number 5, Drillers number 4, Geezers at number 3, Wailords number 2, and Team Pussy, once again, number 1 slot.
Beautiful.
Boom. Week 5 pick'ems.
Here we go, guys.
You want to start?
Yeah. We got the seniors first, going against the cheap Drillers. This was going to be good, man. Brian, he's been telling me this is the one that he's been looking forward to the least. And the most, I should say, because Brian, he doesn't back down from competition. But Hector and Allan were telling me that he's been building for the seniors since like week 2. So it's gonna be close. We're giving it to the Drillers this time. They're coming off of a bye week. I know they're gonna come up with a good game plan. I think the seniors are gonna want to get a win. They're not gonna want to slide to 3 losses in a row, but. Yeah. But it's going to be a tough one. This is not going to be an easy one that you're going to have to bounce back from. So we get here.
Seniors could win, but we're picking the Drillers. Mm-hmm. And in that replay, I better see Valley BC on that screen.
Oh man, yeah, we better.
If it's just Allan and Hector again, like, what the hell, man? He's the one that's been building for this matchup the last couple weeks. Like, yeah, we better see that Valley BC on the screen. Next up, we got the Po-Tay-Toes versus the Delibirds. This is going to be kind of the first test for the Delibirds against a high-ranking team. The Po-Tay-Toes, again, they're only 2-2. They're not they're not one of those top-tier undefeated teams. But they've still been doing very well. Mm-hmm. They have a very good draft. It's going to be awkward because they're 2 big kind of main Dynamax Pokemon, their mascots sort of are going to be the Metagross and the Moltres. So it's going to be it's weird that we're picking the Metagross team here, but we think that they've just been shit. I hope we didn't disconnect. I mean that's looking good, but chat disconnected, Discord disconnected. That's weird.
Interesting. We'll continue to go here.
Okay.
I'm also going to see if we can sign into...
That might not... Oh, it's just bringing up a thing on the browser, I think, so... shit. Oh, that's not so good. Okay. But yeah, Potatoes... I'll just finish this one off here. Potatoes, we're going to... Oh, okay, it's back. We're going to give it to the Potatoes just because we think that they've been... Overall, we think they've been doing a little bit better, especially because they've had... their strength of schedule has been... their schedule's been tougher in these beginning weeks. And for the most part, they've still been holding their own. So it's a little bit weird to see that we're picking the Metagross team over the Moltres team, but... you know what? I have Metagross in a VGC league, and I beat the Galarian Moltres team. So fuck it. Potatoes.
Next, we have the Raiders versus the Burnouts. We get to get you, Jared. It's on. If you're listening to this right now, it is over.
Oh, we disconnected?
No, he has to be playing.
Oh, no, we didn't. Oh, God, Ben, get the fuck out of here.
So... Can't wait for this. It's going to be fantastic. We're obviously taking us because we'll take us no matter what. Doesn't matter who we're playing. We're always going to take us. So don't be surprised. Should be a good game though overall. We like him here in the servers. So
sometimes.
And he has a new teammate now, so that's going to add a new dynamic. It should be good, honestly. Can't wait to play him. But we're taking us. It shouldn't come to any surprise. Go ahead.
Mudkips and Wailords. This is going to be an interesting one. I think the Mudkips are going to have a lot of trouble relying on Glastrier here. I think it's they have the Wailords have a good matchup against it, and that's not the only reason. I mean, the way that these two teams have been playing so far. I mean. The Wailords are clearly the favorite. But, I mean, it's possible that the Mudkips pull something out here if this last week was any indication of where they're going. I just think that maybe this week is not the week to rely on, and that might fuck with their momentum a little bit if they, just figured out how to use this Ice Horse, and they're like, all right, let's go, Ice Horse all day, every day. And then they, bring it against, Bronzong Incineroar and Araquanid.
Hate you for saying that because she's not going to like that. She's not going to like that at all.
Well,
because now
we say a lot of things people don't like.
You gave Patrats a lot of ammo right now to just be like, see, I told you it's not good.
Okay, well then I'll say this right now. Fred, if this is not the week to rely on Ice Horse, most other weeks are. So just let it happen and be happy with your wins. Okay?
Yeah, it's gonna be good though. Honestly, this is gonna be a good match just in general. But man, it's a tough matchup on paper for this particular team. So, and
not just because of the Ice Horse, but that is a big part of it. So, but it's also, like I said, it also has to do with how these two teams have been playing. The Mudkips obviously picked it up this last week, but the 3 weeks before have been not so great. Wailords have been mostly consistent. So, and they're one of our top teams. So it makes sense that they're the favorite here.
All right, probably the game next is the game that we're probably going to say the game of the week, huh? Two undefeateds.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm hoping too. We got the Reggie Geezers versus Team Pussy, our first undefeated matchup. Well, I'm sure there's been a couple 1-0s, but matchup against undefeateds this far. Two teams that have been in the top 5 for a little bit here. We're choosing Team Pussy here. We really like the momentum that they've been able to carry. The Celesteela plus Cinderace has been doing really, really, really well for them. And then the amount of support Pokemon that they have to back a lot of that stuff up is just really good. Particularly because the Cinderace, the Cinderace can do really well with a lot of what they have. Mm-hmm. The only thing that it really doesn't do well with is like the Volcanion. But there's other things that they have. They've used Diggersby before to great measure, to great things.
And Diggersby next to Celesteela is great if they want to go for Earthquakes. Although Earthquake is a little bit weird because you've got grassy terrain on the Geezer side, so maybe you just want to go for that straight high horsepower. That's probably what they want to do.
Diggersby doesn't get Precipice.
Get the fuck out of here.
It should. Who deserves Precipice Blades, Groudon or Diggersby?
I would rather have it on Diggersby because then Groudon wouldn't piss me off so much when it's. We're not getting into restricted formats now. We're not doing it. It's not as big of a deal now, but I hate primals. Anyway, Celesteela I think can probably put in a lot of work here, and the Volcanion is the main thing that's gonna be good at dealing with it, but. It's going to be much... If the Celesteela maxes, it's going to be much harder for them to deal with because the Volcanion is a really awkward max Pokemon. When you're setting... With your stabs, when you're setting Rain and Sun, that's weird, man. Yeah. Like, maybe you just have to dedicate just to clicking fire moves if you're afraid enough of the Celesteela. But, it's going to be tough.
Did Dave just say he was an underdog? You're 3 on the power rankings, Dave. Maybe the Mudkips are underdogs. Maybe the Patrats. You're 3 on the power rankings. Next we have you want to take Doesn't Click and Bulus? Because I did the...
Sure, yeah. There's not a whole lot to say. Yeah. It's more just, We're looking at Doesn't Click hasn't had a bye, right? They're 3-1? Not 2-1, they're 3-1?
They're 3-1.
Okay. So 3-1 versus 0-3. The Bulus again, they totally have a chance. But it's another case of kind of like the Mudkips and the Wailords. Doesn't Click is clearly the favorite here. Especially given their history in the league and they're the favorite in a lot of their matchups. Just generally, so I don't think it's a surprise to see us picking Doesn't Click over the Bulus here. But the Bulus have been
a good team, man.
They're a good team. They have a good draft. They can do it.
Yeah, I think so too. But we gotta go with the 2-time champions. They look like they're on a roll this year again. Consistency is their main thing. But yeah, I really do like. And actually, Dave, I'll be honest with you. I think this is more pressure for you guys this time. If there's a game that you guys feel that you need to win, it should be this one because this one will really catapult you guys to the top. All the other games that you've had, for the most part, even against us, they've been against lesser teams. Just like with the Delibirds, right? The Delibirds don't have those impressive wins yet. This is your chance to get that impressive win. Otherwise, people are going to go, you're just beating the bad teams. So if anything, I would say there's more pressure for this one, even if we're not picking you. I think there's pressure for both these teams because Team Pussy wants to make sure that they stay on top, because if they lose, I think the Wailords just go straight to number 1 if the Wailords win.
Probably, yeah.
So, definitely. Yeah. Going to be interesting. Doesn't click versus the Bulus. Next, we have the Pixies versus the Patrats. This one's going to be tough. Mm-hmm. But we like the way the Patrats have been playing. It's a huge, huge improvement. Their prep has looked good. Their play has looked good. It's just been really, it's been uphill. They've been going up since. They've been trending upwards since, the first 2 weeks. And I think that their transactions did help them a little bit. I think the Gothitail was able to add a lot of good bulk and versatility for them. Mm-hmm. And I think just in general they're gonna have a decent time. So the pair moves as well, but I think this more just has to do with the Patrats have those S tiers, man, and I don't know if the Pixies can deal with all that.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's also about it's about consistency as well. I feel that the Patrats, because of the trajectory that they're on and the way they've been playing, especially these last 2 weeks, it seems a little bit more consistent than how the Pixies have been doing. Pixies are they're
even though they're lower ranking teams on this power rankings, both teams have shown some good stuff overall. So it's going to be exciting to see just overall how that match plays out. And then next we have the Ally Switch Spammers versus the Mats, the Matt Alcinas. You may not like it, Ben, but I mean, last season it was the Sky Pillars for us, right? Like we were just picking the Sky Pillars for everything after a certain point.
Mostly
we just kind of fell in love with their team. We fell in love with Shannon and Furat, and we were just we can't wait to see what they can do. It's more or less that's the Mats this season for us, and we like the way that they've been prepping, even though they messed up with the EVs a couple of times. But Vishy says he doesn't even need perfect IVs and stuff, which are different than EVs. But he says he doesn't even need optimal IVs to do well at an event, so who knows. But I think it's rough to say that the Spammers go 0-4. But I think
it's a tough schedule to start off with, man.
It really is. It's tough. And no matter what, the Spammers are such a good team that it's dude, we at least want to split these games, Yeah. But it's going to be rough. We'll see what happens. But for right now, I think the Matt Alcinas, the Mats are looking really good, man. They're playing very well. They got an incredible team, 2 good players. They're gonna be a team that's gonna constantly be in the top 5. So it's a rough go for the Spammers this time.
Mm-hmm. That should do it from us then.
Yep.
Transactions. We got transactions starting tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing transactions this week, and they will be usable week 6. Also, I made an announcement about this in the server. We're playing week 5 as normal, but after week 5, we are taking a break because the Players' Cup is happening on the weekend of March 20th. So in between week 5 and 6, everybody's going to have a week off. So if you're playing in the Players' Cup, good luck. If you're not, then you got a week off. So
yep. So be nice for us too.
Yeah.
All right. I think that wraps us up for us here. Week 4 in the books. Week 5 coming up here.
Yep. Good luck, everybody.
Good luck, man. Good luck to everybody.
We'll see you.